Hi, and welcome to More Talks. I am Carrie Keevers, founder of Moms Against Racism Canada, and this month, in honor of International Women's Day, Women's History Month, and the International Day for the Elimination of Racial Discrimination, we're taking a look at revolutionary mothering. And with this interview series, I feel very lucky and inspired as I get the opportunity to talk with people who embody revolutionary mothering. So revolutionary mothering in part is about stewardship. And I'm grateful to the Indigenous peoples of Turtle Island who have stewarded this land, who have been mothering this land time immemorial, and that I, as an uninvited guest on the unceded ancestral lands of the Lekwungen speaking peoples, so the Songhees, Esquimalt, and Wasanic First Nations, that I get to raise my children in such a beautiful area of the world. And humbly, through Moms Against Racism, we are working to educate moms and those in mothering roles in anti-racism and cultural competence and decolonization, so that they have the tools to dismantle racism in themselves, their families, and their communities, so that we're supporting the reparation work that needs to be done. And today I am excited to be chatting with Jess Housty, who's very involved with mothering her nation's community. And Jess is a mother, writer, educator, and community organizer from the Heiltsuk Nation. She serves her community as the Executive Director of Qqs, in English is Eyes, Project Society, a Heiltsuk charitable nonprofit leading land-based cultural programming for youth and families since 1999. She has also recently completed 2 terms as an elected leader on the Heiltsuk Tribal Council, one of the Heiltsuk Nation's governing bodies, where she chaired the lands portfolio and supported the nation's stewardship work. More broadly, Jess focuses her energy on social and environmental justice, food security, ethical philanthropy, and decolonized, can I say decolonized parenting? All right. So she resides in her unceded ancestral homelands in Bella Bella, British Columbia with her family. Hi, Jess. Thank you so much for sharing your time with me, and I'm sorry for the blunder.
Oh, no worries, Gayasika, for having me with you. I'm so excited to be speaking with you today.
So for our series, we're asking each of our interviewees, each of our revolutionary mothers, the same 3 questions. So our first question is, what does revolutionary mothering mean to you?
Yeah, I mean, I love this question. And when I think about what motherhood has looked like to me, I come from a matriarchal society. So for me, the power of women's love is such a fundamental part of community building where we live. And I'm so blessed to have been mothered by my mother, of course, who's a phenomenal woman, but also by my aunties and my grannies and my older cousins and, matriarchs in the community, and also by the land, which is an incredible entity that I feel a really deep connection to and have certainly felt nurtured by throughout my life. And when I think about what built me up throughout my life as a child and still ongoing today, and how I try to build my children up, it's really about radical acts of love. We are a community that has survived generations of colonization that sought to break our family bonds and our connection to our lands and waters. And so to me, every act of love and nurturing feels like just this incredible proof that we're persevering as a nation and living this beautiful ancestral truth that was gifted down to us and that we get to pass down to future generations.
Thank you. And it's so true, so true. It's revolutionary. So for yourself, how, in what ways, both possibly within your family, but within your community and the work that you do, how do you practice revolutionary mothering?
For me in my personal life, I think it shows up with trying to have really deep, trusting relationships when it comes to how my children are being raised. I'm, of course, an incredibly protective mom, but I also feel so beautifully uplifted by all of the other people who want to love my little wolf cubs. And so, to me, a big part of how revolutionary mothering shows up is just in building the kinds of circles and communities and networks that give that space to my children to be loved by many people and thrive in that love. But, professionally, I also recognize that not everybody has access to that kind of circle of safety, those networks that they can lean on. And so for me, a big part of the work I do, both at Qqs and more broadly, is really about trying to replicate those sort of very intergenerational and land-based spaces where we can be together and take care of one another and nurture each other to thrive. I want to see a community where every child has the freedom to be their best, strongest, most resilient Heiltsuk self. And anything that I can do and anything that our organization can do to create the conditions for that to happen feels like really important work. And so, much of what we do is just very focused on bringing groups of people from our community out on the land, building up that sense of really deep cultural identity and pride, learning more about where we come from, the territory, our stories, our ceremonies, and finding really deep strength in that. And as we build community in that work, I think we replicate that kind of really beautiful land-based intergenerational, circle building that kept our ancestors strong.
And I think even just the idea of having that strength and understanding in who you are and where you come from and that orientation to the land is revolutionary, because I mean, for everyone, but more specifically for yourself and for the Indigenous peoples of Turtle Island, because it has been so intentionally broken. So it's that repairing of that. And so I commend you for everything that you're doing and for all of the positive impact that you are creating, and as a role model too. I imagine not just the impacting of the lives that you're touching in your nation, but also that role model that you are showing the younger generations of what they can be and what they can do. So it's fantastic. And in part why I reached out and asked if you would participate in the interview series. So thank you very much. Our last question is, what advice do you have for those wanting to be allies and dismantlers of racism in particular?
Yeah, I mean, it's such an important question. And I think there are two things that I want to reflect on. One is just recognizing how recent that deep colonial history is and recognizing that it actually is an ongoing thing. I mean, I'm 34 years old, and I'm in the first generation in my family where no one was forcibly removed to residential school. So often we talk about the deep pains and traumas of colonization as though there's something in the ancient past, but they are very real and very present, and continue to impact the lives of our community members in real ways every day. And so I think, having that fundamental understanding is just so important. And, the other piece I'd reflect on is that, we have really deep lived experience of what it is to be in this world as Indigenous people. I recognize that I carry a lot of privilege in my own identity, but just taking the time to really deeply listen to the voices of people in marginalized communities who are very capable of letting you know how they want to be supported, in all of my work, whether it's very local grassroots work in my community or things that are broader and more regional. I really deeply believe in grassroots, ground up ideas and solutions and community building. And so I think just always bringing it back to that root is so important, taking the time to build the trust, build the relationships, and listen to people. It's just so incredibly important.
So incredibly important, and so much work, but like important work, right? We can't, to have that solid foundation, we need to be making those relationships and like you say, making them solid and those deep relationships. And it's just so important. And I find that a lot of in the work that we're doing and with the question about how to be an ally and how to be a dismantler, that so many people just want like give me the 5 steps of how to do it, where really it's just get to know people and listen to them and their lived experience. So fantastic advice. Thank you very much. So thank you very much for your time with us today. For those who are watching, to find out more about Jess and all of the amazing things that she is doing and Qqs Project Society, you can head to the website, which is qqsprojects.org. Is that correct?
Correct, yeah.
Perfect. And we'll have it linked below the video as well. So thank you so much, Jess, for being here, for all of the revolutionary mothering that you do. And as you say, the world needs those radical acts of love that you are bringing. So thank you.
Jessica.